You know, this phone has the most versatile camera system, and in some ways it's actually better than the iPhone 15 Pro, the Pixel 8 Pro, and even the S23 Ultra. Now you might be thinking I'm overselling this, or that this is an ad, or it's a sponsored video. No, I'm actually as amazed as you're going to be. First, let me put the cost into perspective. The vivo X100 Pro is priced a little lower than most flagships out there, but despite that price, it still has most of the flagship qualities. I mean, would you believe that I took this shot using the vivo X100 Pro? Or that I zoomed into this point from the 100th floor of a building and then I shot this picture all the way from the top? Or even this picture of the Hong Kong skyline at night? I'm telling you, the S23 Ultra's zoom cannot do that. And even the iPhone 15 Pro or the Pixel 8 Pro cannot take as sharp low-light photos. So let's start with the low-light photos because that's where all phones suffer, even flagships. So here's the first one. And as you can see, even at night, the X100 Pro captured the colors very well. A bit over-sharpened for sure, but still not bad at all for low-light. In this one, just look at the balance of colors, the exposure, and the noise-free sky. And look at this night sky. This is crazy. And seriously guys, go ahead and download these pictures. I'll leave a link in the description and look at the quality for yourself. Even the telephoto photos are unbelievable. Generally, any kind of zooming in at nighttime, it tends to result into very grainy and noisy photos, but not with this phone. Like here's a photo taken at 10x zoom level on both the iPhone 15 Pro and the X100 Pro. Do you see how much better the vivo one is? And zoom aside, even if I just look at low light regular photos, just look at the detail inside the mall here and notice the details on the road or even near the trees over here. Now another very popular category is portraits, and even in that case, this phone took some crazy shots. The way it maintains the skin tone, the edge detection around the face, the details that are retained, it's all super impressive. And you'll see here that all of these are at different focal lengths, so within the camera app, you can easily switch between different focal lengths and then shoot portraits at all of those focal lengths like a pro, and this is pretty much an example of that. Now here are some more samples that I took at 50mm focal length, which by the way I think is one of the best for portraits, but I took so many shots just walking around the streets and just look at the stuff I got. And when compared to the iPhone 15 Pro, I must say that the iPhone did capture more details, especially in the jacket and the buttons, but I do prefer the overall skin tone and vibrancy on my face that vivo gives right out of the box. But then, in the night, the equation changes. iPhone 15 Pro is bad. Bad white balance, low details, inaccurate colors. The vivo just crushes the iPhone 15 Pro here. And so I would lean on a phone that does well in both scenarios rather than on one phone that does one scenario slightly better. And I really want to touch upon the zoom capability of this phone because that is slightly nuts. So guys, I was standing on the 100th floor when I took this picture and I was like, let's keep switching the zoom level, and I kept taking shots and I got this at the end and I was completely blown away by the quality. And seriously guys, no matter how many times I tried at different things, the result just continued to amaze me. And even when I compared really zoomed in shots with the Zoom King, the Galaxy S23 Ultra, the vivo X100 Pro just stood out so clearly. It had better colors, more details, and definitely much less noise. And also, I took these absolutely stunning shots of sunset with the X100 Pro, and that too at different zoom levels, and I was speechless when I was taking these shots. But you know, other than all of this, the vivo X100 Pro is still really good to take your everyday regular photos as well. I mean, you get excellent balance of colors, highlights, exposure, and white balance. Nothing over the top. No aggressive sharpening. They are a bit more saturated than natural, but I actually prefer that because it adds a very subtle pop and colors to photos to make them look slightly better, and it's just a personal preference. And even when compared to the iPhone, it was really difficult to say which one is better. Both kind of look very similar. You'll notice that vivo tends to add some more color to its photos than iPhones, which again to me personally looks better because I would generally take iPhone photos and then I would increase the contrast and saturation to pop them a bit more, but vivo does that naturally. Vivo does tend to over sharpen and saturate the greens, especially in trees, which again the iPhone actually keeps really natural. But seriously guys, if you just put them together, would you say that one is a whole lot better than the other? Maybe not. But what about videos? So the vivo X100 Pro can shoot 4K videos at up to 60 FPS, and I happened to shoot all of this on a pretty smoggy day in Delhi, so it was also not sunny, but nevertheless the footage is really crisp, it's very high quality, I like it. And you know, even if I compare this with the iPhone 15 Pro, which is supposedly the best for taking videos, In auto mode, I don't see it being any better or worse than the X100 Pro. The X100 Pro is giving very stiff competition to the iPhone, and guys, I bought into the iPhone 15 Pro because of its videos, but the fact that the Vivo is so close, it's really surprising. But then in low light, things change completely. The X100 Pro is unbeatable. It's probably the best I've ever seen in such dark conditions. It's so well balanced, colors are looking good, very minimum noise. The footage isn't shaky and there's no breathing even as I walk. I mean, this is something that most smartphones I know, even the flagships, will have a really tough time adjusting to. In fact, just look at these colors and how clear the text is. In fact, I compared it with the iPhone 15 Pro, and as I'm walking down the stairs, just look at the shake in the iPhone footage. And sure, the iPhone footage is brighter, but it's still unusable because it's so shaky. The X100 Pro footage, I can just increase the brightness of the exposure and get it to the same brightness level as the iPhone 15 Pro. But just look at this, how stable is X100 Pro? And look at the text, it's so nicely readable on the X100 Pro. But yeah, when both the phones are kept steady, then the footage is quite similar. It's only when there's movement in low light where the iPhone 15 Pro really fails and the X100 Pro is really good. And just like the iPhone 15 Pro, the vivo X100 Pro can also take 4K 30fps cinematic videos or portrait videos, and they do a pretty good job in terms of edge detection and creating a very natural background blur. But yeah, if you're using a phone to shoot videos professionally, then definitely the iPhone 15 Pro is for you because it can shoot ProRes log, and shoot 4K 60fps straight into an external hard disk directly from the phone. It just gives you more flexibility with your footage that the vivo X100 Pro just can't. But for majority people who are just shooting photos and videos in auto mode, I think the vivo X100 Pro is just doing better across all categories, like an overall phone. But again, guys, you do not have to believe me. I'm linking everything in the description so you can download these samples and just look at it for yourself. Believe it then. But sure, a phone is not just for taking photos and videos, right? It's got to look good, feel good, pack a lot of performance, last long. So let's talk about all of that. So let's pick up design. And the X100 Pro, it's a decent looking phone. A nice matte finish glass at the back, curved screen, and it feels good to hold. However, I'll be honest, it's not as premium looking as the Galaxy S23 Ultra or the iPhone 15 Pro. And owing to its large display size, it's definitely not easy to use with just one hand. Now, here in India, you get the dual SIM variant with no microSD card slot for memory expansion, and it's available in one variant, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of internal storage. I've got the Asteroid Black, which I think is a really nice color. It's got a smooth matte finish with a bit of shimmer. But hey, you've got a case in the box, so you can just slap it on and have a more subtle look while also having a better grip. The big camera module is something I'm not a fan of personally, but I guess that's how they've been able to cram the best hardware there is on any smartphone. So I'm okay as long as it takes great photos and videos. Also, it's got an IR blaster over here, so it works as a remote for anything that uses a remote. So your TVs, your sound bars, your air conditioners, all of those. And also, it's got dual stereo speakers, and it's got a USB 3.2 Type-C port here for data syncing and charging. But overall, it feels quite slim, but then the big camera module, the heavier top part, you'll need to get used to holding it a bit differently. Now let's talk about the display. So it's got a 6.78-inch AMOLED display with an FHD plus resolution and 3000 nits of crazy high brightness. It looks absolutely stunning. It's also an HDR display which supports HDR playback on Netflix and other streaming apps. So yeah, fabulous display. It's AMOLED, bursting with colors, refreshing at 120Hz, so it's super smooth. It's fantastic. Now, let's talk about performance. So it's got the latest MediaTek 9300 chip, which is a very high performance chip. Actually, it's the same bracket as Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. But, MediaTek tends to be a little cheaper, so it keeps the cost of the device on the lower side. And, playing games on this was quite nice. You could throw pretty much any game at it and it'll be smooth. I didn't notice any major heating while playing either. Very good touch response. It's got stereo speakers, so it sounds pretty good too. And in terms of battery, you get 5400 mAh of capacity with a 120-watt charger in the box. The phone, however, it supports 100 watts of flash charge, which is still crazy fast. And you get charged from a 0 to 100 in under 30 minutes, which is more than I need. But yeah, from what I've experienced, it will easily last you the entire day with about 5 to 10% left for you towards the end of the night. And hey, even if you require some power in the middle of the day, just plug it in for 10 minutes and you'll have more power than you will need through the day. Okay, now let's talk about the software. So it's running the latest Android 14 overlaid on top with FunTouch OS 14. I'm not going to talk about this much here because that could be a whole other video, but in general, FunTouch OS is quite customizable and can be personalized in many ways. But one thing that I'd like to highlight is that there isn't much bloatware in here. But you know, a big part of software is its upgradability, and Vivo promises 3 years of OS upgrades and 4 years of security updates, which is okay, but generally phones in the flagship category give you at least 4 years of OS upgrades and 5 years of security updates. In fact, phones like Google Pixel and the Pixel 8 series and the iPhone, they give you nearly 7 years of OS upgrades, which is massive. So in comparison, it looks like it's lesser. So that's definitely something that Vivo should work on. Anyway, guys, so that's it about the X100 Pro. Keep in mind that the Galaxy S24 series is right around the corner. So if you're juggling between the two, you might want to wait and just see what improvements the Galaxy S24 series comes with. And that might be a better suited phone for you, if at all. But do keep in mind that the S24 Ultra is going to be a lot more expensive than the X100 Pro. But other than that, I don't think there's any other Android smartphone that can take as good photos and videos as the X100 Pro. But then this or the iPhone, that's a whole other decision that you need to think about, and not just from a photos or videos perspective. In fact, I've done a full video warning Android users to shift to the iPhone. I'll leave a card over here. Definitely check that out. I guess the only few cons that I can think about with regards to this device is that it's not aesthetically as good looking as other flagship phones out there. It's not just as premium. They could definitely work on the durability front, which I think they missed on to. And the fact they only provide 3 years of OS upgrades while other flagships are on the higher side, that could be something that Vivo can definitely work on. But leaving these cons aside, what a solid phone and an unbeatable camera experience. I don't think, in low light especially, there's any other phone out there that can compete with the X100 Pro, photos or videos, either way. Alright, and that's it guys about the vivo X100 Pro. If you guys still have any questions, doubts, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. I'll definitely reach out to you over there. And if you did enjoy watching the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon, and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.